Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Michelle for afroexpats. I am interviewing today Roxana and Rakia, and this is part 1 of 3. Basically, we talked a lot about where they live, which is in Veracruz, and the point of this series is to bring awareness to other expats living around Mexico and where they are. So sit back and enjoy. Thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Michelle for Afro Expats. Welcome to my channel and lifestyle series. This series is to share viewpoints from other expats that live pretty much around Mexico. We know a lot about mostly the Yucatan area, which is beautiful, and we will definitely include people that live there, but I really wanted to showcase a lot of the folks that are spread out in Mexico. We're in little pockets around parts of Mexico that maybe you've never heard of. And, you know, we're all starting to make connections online, which I love. It gives me more incentive to visit where you are. And today I have the pleasure of talking to Roxana Bangura and Rakia Welsh. You can tell us where you live. And basically the idea is, you know, I want you to just kind of free flow with whatever it is that you want to share with us about your experiences, how long you've been, where you are, et cetera, et cetera. I just want to share with folks because, as I said earlier, for myself, when I traveled to Mexico over the years, I had really different perspectives about parts of Mexico. I always thought Mexico was just kind of like a country with a lot of small towns. I didn't realize that it was full of cities, obviously beaches, I knew that. There are so many settings and so many ranges and climates and things like that. And I just really want people to share like where you are and why you landed where you are, what brought you there, and what you love about it, and what's special or what's a challenge for you. So, in saying all of that, thank you for being here. And Roxana, you can start. What brought you?
Okay, well, thank you for having me. Thank you for having us. As she said, my name is Roxana Bangura, and I'm an immigrant to Mexico, an expat. I've been here 4 years, and I live in Veracruz, in the state of Veracruz. Veracruz Son Bello, is that it?
Solo es bello.
Solo es bello. So Veracruz is on the Gulf of Mexico, and that's where I am. That's where I live.
Okay, well, hi, I'm Rakia, and I'm also here in Veracruz. I'm going to let you know exactly where I'm at. I'm in Orizaba, Veracruz. It's the Pueblo Mágico. I'm a Mexican resident. I've been in Mexico now a total of 12 years, and I've been in Orizaba nine years. And Orizaba is a mountain valley pueblo, and yeah, the weather is awesome most days, and that's about it for me.
Okay, so what are the things that you love about your area? Let's start with that. What are your pros in regard to living in that part of Mexico? The Gulf of Mexico, you're in Veracruz. What do you really feel are your things that just make your heart, pitter patter?
Well, let me be honest. Veracruz, I don't know any other way to be honest about this situation. Veracruz for me is nice. I like the diversity of Veracruz because we have the beach, we have mountains, we have snow, we have everything here. And this is what keeps me in Veracruz. Orizaba some days is difficult because it is a pueblo at the end of the day, and we have to fight amongst the closed-mindedness of the pueblo. But environmentally, I can't complain. We have ample enough water. I've seen last weekend. I saw somebody say I was traveling. I seen so many dry areas. It was harshly dry. And I was like, Jesus, I guess I took for granted the greenery and the ample of water that we have here. That when I left, I was like, oh man, this dryness is like Sahara. I'm glad that we don't have that in Orizaba. And living in Orizaba, you have just so much to do. You have so much to do. It's family friendly. So this is what keeps me here because I'm a beach person, but I can't live on the beach 24/7. And Orizaba is 2 hours from the beach. And it's so much stuff to do in Orizaba with my son that it keeps me here. It just keeps me here. And it's cost efficient. And I don't have a lot of tourism. So what we do have tourism, but it's Mexican tourism.
Okay.
Which is a plus. Mexican tourism is a plus. Outside of Mexican tourism causes problems for us that are Mexican residents. The cost of living changes when you get outside tourism. So that's what I have. Yeah, that's the challenge.
So for those who don't understand, can you explain in short what a puebla is?
Oh, sure. So it's the same thing as a town. Mm-hmm. I remember in the United States, we have cities, town, and townships. Mm-hmm. So Orizaba is now officially a town. It was a township, meaning that it had a very small population, but it had a very large land mass. Now we have expanded housing and ecotourist areas, so now it's a town. Okay. It's a Pueblo Mágico. It's the #1 Pueblo Mágico in the Republic of Mexico. Meaning that when they do the awards for tourism with Mexicans, we win. We win because the president here is all about making sure that we have the cleanest city or the cleanest pueblo. He's all about making sure there's things for our children to do besides recreational or party recreational activity. He always makes sure that the pools are clean, the mountains are clean, you feel safe. Our police are out and about, not harassing, but actually policing. They're actually policing the people to make sure that they are not doing things that they should not be doing. They just invested in the K9 unit here to make sure that people are not just walking around with things that they shouldn't, like weapons or drugs. So it's actually a safe place to be.
Okay.
That's how Orizaba is presenting itself.
Okay. So one more question for you, and that would be like, give just an example of the types of things that you feel your son benefits from or your child benefits from in Orizaba that you really, as a parent, makes you feel good about living there.
I'm a country girl at heart. And I grew up with the idea that it takes a village to raise a family. And here my son has a village. Everybody knows everybody. Roxana's here. Everybody knows Roxana as my sister. She can't go to the corner and people call me and they're like, Roxana's over here. Did you know she's over here? Or they're like, oh, your niece? I seen her by herself here. She should not be out by herself here. And when you're new to the area, it's kind of invasive, right? It's like, why are you checking for me so hard? But once you understand that the people are genuinely looking out for you, this makes a world of a difference. When I tell you that my son can go outside and won't anybody touch him, they will guide him, like, where are you going? What are you doing? But he will come back home. And this is friend, foe, family, police, the president. Everybody knows who we are and what side of town we should be on. And this is important. If my son, for example, goes to the store and he doesn't have enough money, not a problem, because everybody goes, oh, okay, that's the teacher's children, or that's the Welsh's son. Give it to him, and somebody will come here and pay later. And I think that is the idea that makes me feel good. As well as when it's time for him to go to a doctor, I never have a problem. They will figure out what he needs right away because of his father's political ties. And then they love us. They love us here. It's kind of like, I don't know, I always tell people, if you ever have low self-esteem, move to Mexico.
That's true. That's true. It's a different vibe than what we are kind of accustomed to, unfortunately, in the US. And I think that it's also unfortunate that people in the US that have never been here have such a wrong impression of Mexico. Not that I think we should all bombard Mexico. I just, I think our purpose, as I call us, you included, Roxana included, myself and others that have just, made that leap of faith, that we're pioneers for a message for a country that has been portrayed very negatively. And, I think that even with our skin color being here, we are treated a little bit better at times in most places. At least that's been my experience. People are curious and they're courteous and they're kind. And, I really can't think of anything that was so derogatory and so negative. And, I am always gracious and grateful that this country accepts me, because in the end, it's not my homeland either. I don't think the US is my homeland. I don't think I have a homeland. I can say we can trace ourselves back to a certain point, and we're just displaced. We're displaced people. So that's my opinion. But I'm
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think it's important that we understand the stereotypes are on both sides of the border. And if we allow what television or what one or two people have experienced outside of their norm to cloud our judgment, right, I don't think we would go anywhere. we wouldn't go anywhere, and we would stay subjected to the ill treatment in the United States. As a boy mom, it was super important for me, for my family back home, to understand I have zero plans to raise my son in this territory. I won't do it. I want him to be free. My son is 6 and he appears to be 12. So imagine what they would do to him back in the United States, and I don't want that. So I like the fact here that people look at his size and they're like, oh my God, he's 6, but they don't feel inferior or infuriated, or they don't feel like he's a threat or a danger. They just like, oh my God, like it's majestical to them. Like, right, these kids are big, but they don't feel or insecure with themselves enough to hurt them. They actually look at them like these big old babies. We have to protect them.
That's true.
And that is important for me.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. That was, I would say, one of the top 3 reasons why I left the US. I was like, I don't want to raise my son anywhere in the US because I'm fearful for his life at even that age, whether it's a mass shooting in a school, because those are the facts, or he gets older and he's, out doing his normal things that normal boys do, and he gets into a problem with whomever, and those are the facts. So for me, I really wanted to have a winning chance as a parent, raising him somewhere else, giving him as much culture as possible. And, this was our place. So it makes sense. Roxana, tell me about your viewpoints on where you are, just your pros. I know you've been here for 4 years. I met you online as well. I mean, we all met online. I followed your chronicles, Bangura Chronicles, and you had a few articles in the beginning. I remember when I found you, I don't know if you remember me, but I was so excited. I was just like a
I
sister.
do. I do.
I wrote you something. I think I made a few comments along the way.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I just was so excited because it really felt to me like you were really in remote, more remote. When I say remote, not remote as in the geography, meaning even less expats. And, I admire that a lot. And I just happened to meet Rakia recently, not even knowing you were there. You were like hiding under a little rock or something. I was like, where did you
Many
come
people
from?
don't know that I met Roxana and convinced Roxana to come to Veracruz. I just sit behind the lines.
See, I didn't even, that's right. I watched the
And it
interview.
was one of the best decisions of my life to move here.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
tell me about it, because I did see your interview last week with Picky Girl Travels, and you look fabulous. I just have to say that you were
Thank
absolutely
you.
stunning. And
Thank you very much.
I tuned in and I just thought, I got to talk to her too. So I'm really happy that you're here
Thank you.
with
Thank you
Rakia,
for
because
having me.
Rakia and I set it up before, but I knew that you guys knew each other and that
Mhm.
she convinced you to come to Mexico, and your story.
That's my sister. That's my Mexican mama sister. She's my
Yes.
mama's sister.
Well, I need sisters too, okay? Because I don't have sisters, so I need sisters.
I told you if there was something that I could help you with, you can always reach out to me.
Yes.
I take that burden on with all of the ladies that I meet online who come to Veracruz. I always offer my house, my car, because I know what it is to be here with nothing and we're just kind of fumbling around, floating around, trying to figure things out. So
Yeah.
it's very important that we have that type of togetherness
Hmm.
because we're in an environment where
We're vulnerable.
we're vulnerable. That's right. We're vulnerable, especially if you don't have the command of Spanish the way you should. And that I try to look out for everybody that I have the pleasure of meeting. Everybody should know that when they meet me and when they go on with their travels, from north, south, east to west, you can always call me and I'll figure it out.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, that is so true because she and I connected online. Same thing. I have a page that is for, Black owned whatever resources information, and we connected there. I didn't really know your name because it was different, but once we had our first Zoom call, it was kind of like, I had a subject and it ended up being a marathon phone call, right? We were on a marathon Zoom call for a couple hours and I thought, oh my God, first of all, you're so sweet. And she has a wealth of information. And, I was just really fascinated with the conversation in general. And I just, it's my goal. I'm coming to Veracruz so we can meet and whatever, we can hang out and hang out with your bird in your comfy room and just chill or whatever, have a beer, margarita. But I really do look forward to meeting both of you in person. So I just want to say I'm back. Yeah, I second that. And Roxana, you go ahead and tell me your beautiful story that I know everyone wants to share.
Yeah, the pros of Veracruz, it's a beautiful state. The topography, like she said, physically it's a beautiful state. It's very green, and it's to the point where, living in Orizaba, it's a mountainous town. So we, like I said, we have these 360-degree views of mountains, and it's very hard for me to be in other areas where there are no mountains. Like the view is still beautiful. The view still takes my breath away. I still love when I look up and I see these mountains, and I'm 4 years in. I'm not tired of the view. I'm not tired of the topography. And I remember I drove to the States, and you have to go north or whatever. And in Mexico, the northern part of Mexico is muy seca. It's dry, it's flat. And I didn't like it. I'm so used to the rushness of this central part and the southern part of the country. So there's that. There's no, the cons, we're in a smaller town, and I guess the only thing is, like she said, there's a bit of maybe lack of diversity. The provinces, we're in the Providencia, we're not in the cosmopolitan area. Mm-hmm. So, and that's been hard. She's a married mom, she's very much married, and I'm a single mother. So the dynamics is different in terms of meeting people who are a little bit more like-minded and people who are a little bit more cosmopolitan. So I would say that that's been the challenge for me living here. Just not connecting with people who I guess are more worldly, as it were, worldly. And that's been the challenge for me here. Outside of that, people are very kind to me and my daughter. Like she said, you know, if I'm out and about, it happens often, particularly when I'm going to this one particular market, but people obviously may know us because, you know, we're one of a handful of Black women here, Black people here, particularly native English speakers. So we stand out, and I walk everywhere. I'm a walker, so everyone sees me walking. Where's your daughter? Like, where is she? Is she okay? Like, I can't be out by myself. Like, where's my daughter? You know, like I have to have her joined at the hip. I'm like, she's fine, don't worry about it. So I say that to say, yeah, it's like they say it in an accusatory type of way, like, because they're so family oriented here, your child should be with you. I'm like, she's all right, you know. And I say that to say it speaks to the value of family here, right, and the accommodation, particularly the accommodation as me as a mom. You know, I've told my boss, he's wanted me to work in the more remote campuses, more remote, what they call rancheros, you know, more remote areas of the state. And I'm like, I can't do that. I'm not working in those campuses because that's too far from my daughter. And he was like, okay. Like, it's not, I don't have to explain motherhood. I don't have to make up excuses. I don't have to bend and flex. But hey, my daughter, I can't do that. I'm like, no. And it's fine. It's not a problem. The accommodation that I have had here, I've never had anywhere before in my life. The accommodation for who I am, my status as a single mother, sometimes it takes my breath away how accommodating people are. I can't think of it. Accommodating, cordial, very generous, you know, very kind. So this is what I love about living in this area of Veracruz. This is what I love about this small town.
It's very family-oriented.
Sorry, Rakia, go ahead and repeat yourself.
It's very, Orizaba is very family-oriented, very family first, very child-friendly first, not just, oh, mother, husband, child thing. It's no, children first, and then you. And this, I want to say this about the state of Veracruz. Veracruz is woman-friendly first. If you know anything about machismo in Mexico, Veracruz is a state that is built for women legally. So being that it's a state that embellishes in women's rights and what is important legally for a woman, even though it has this problem with femicidio or women's death, it also has this thing where we are also protected if you know the laws of the land. So that's super important to know about Veracruz. As you travel, I think I teach this to my children, and I want to make this super important to the viewers. When you travel, it is super important that you understand the laws of the land that you are in. Because if you don't, you can be abused mentally and physically, right, because of just your general ignorance of not understanding where you are. I see often now that I'm been brought into the internet world because, you know, I've been in Mexico a long time, and when I got here, it was nobody to call, or it was no, like you said earlier, YouTubes or Facebook groups. It was kind of like I was blind, just touch and feel. And I see now online, thanks to Roxana, that there's so many things that I see women missing, Black women missing, and I'm just like, well, where are they? Where did they go? Did they not understand who to call or what to do or who to communicate with? And I think it's super important as women travel that you investigate. The laws in San MigueldeAllende, where you are completely different than the laws here in Veracruz. Absolutely. The laws in the state of Veracruz are completely different than the laws in the city of Orizaba. And it's super important that you take the time to investigate the artículos so that you know who to call or where to go if you ever need something. And Veracruz is definitely women friendly. It's one of those states where you could go to the local DIF. It doesn't matter if you're Black, white, brown, American, or Cuban. You can go to DIF and receive help, and that's super important to know. So I think that's another reason that Orizaba is so child-friendly, family-friendly, woman-friendly.
And what is DEEF?
DEEF is a program that Mexico has all over. The country of Mexico has DEEF. DEEF is ran by the president's wife. So in San Miguel Allende, your DEEF will be run by your local president's wife. So whatever her ideas are about women, you can see it there. This is where you can take your child to have extracurricular activities.
Mm-hmm.
DEEF is where you can pick up your free cooking class. DEEF is where you can go and get a mammogram. DEEF is where you would go only as a woman. I'm going to have to look up the acronym for you. Give me one moment so I can tell you exactly what the DIF stands for. But it's an excellent service that I don't think a lot of expats understand is available to us, as well as Mexican women. I don't think, especially now in the pandemic era, I don't think people understand as women, you can knock on the door of a DEEF department and they will attend you. It doesn't matter if you are a resident or not.
Okay.
I'll say something to piggyback off of that. I know in the state of Jalisco, which has the capital of Guadalajara, you have the Lake Chapala area, which is a large expat community. And that community has, it's like an American Mexican Association of Expats, something along those lines, where you pay a fee, you become a member, you get a card, and that allows you to have certain services. So they've been able to organize themselves. The American, I guess, Canadian immigrants or North American immigrants have been able to organize themselves in such a way where they have a little bit of a quasi non-governmental organization, semi-political bloc, and that's very empowering. And you have planted the seed with your Black-owned Mexico group. You've planted that seed, and I say that to say this example of the DIP. And I know that because of Rakia, because of living here, but I think this is something that a lot of us lack. Like she said, you're living in a place, but you just know what's going on in your bubble. And there's so much, Mexico gives scholarships to immigrants. Mexico gives scholarships to people from other developing countries, because there's this perception that Mexicans have their hand out, and that's not true. Mexico is a country that gives scholarships to its citizens as well as individuals from other countries. I personally know of a brother. He's not, I want to say he's Haitian, but I'm not sure. He's not from the States, but he's going to get his PhD in the neighboring state, Tlaxcala, which is not too far from Veracruz. Okay. And I say that to say that there's a lot of programs, a scholarship in Spanish is called a beca. So there's a lot of opportunities that even we as people from the United States or the other parts of the Black diaspora can partake in. But the issue is that we don't either have a command of the language or we're not trying to learn these things because of we're in this immigrant expat bubble. Right. So this is like I'm going to equate DIF to WIC, Women and Children program. It's it's like, and it also has services for the elderly. It's women first, it's children first. There's domestic violence help. DIF will come in and act like child protective services. All of these things that I think there's a percentage of us who we're just really unaware. And like she said, it's a nationwide program. So you're living in this country. There are social services that are available to you that you should be aware of.
Yeah, right. I'm going to come on the scholarship program situation or comment, piggyback off of it. That's what I do here in Orizaba. That's what I do. I teach and I connect people with what they need to know about what is available to them. And to answer the question about DEEF, DEEF is the National System of Integral Family Development. Okay. And I actually love their services because it's just so much. And not a lot of people think about Mexico outside of the machismo, that the women here in Mexico, we stick together. We stick together. The women right now, we are joined at the hip from the top to the south. And it's very important as women travelers that you understand that even if you don't see somebody of the same color as you, or because you don't speak the language fluently, that this is a place that you could definitely go and receive help if you need to.
Right. No, that's great information because I was not aware of that. And what Roxana said is very accurate. I think that, a lot of people come and they don't have a great grasp on the language, which is the barrier. It's not your skin color, it's the language. And with the language, you can maneuver better, you can integrate better with the culture, you can communicate your needs, and you can learn more about where you live. So, a few weeks ago, I did a video about learning Spanish, and, my intention was, yes, it is important because some people, for example, I picked San Miguel because I knew it would be an easier transition for my family. My intention has always been to be better at Spanish because I know intermediate Spanish, but my intention is to be better at it, but also where the transition of living in a new place is easier because it's difficult, like if you're coming with, especially a family, right? Let's just keep it real. Let's say you're a mom, a dad, a mom or a dad, a single parent, whatever your dynamics are, and you have one or two or three children that do not speak the language, you do not speak the language, and you go somewhere and you have this fantasy about, oh, it's cheaper, because that's a lot of the reason why people leave. It's less expensive, and you think you're just going to plunk yourself down in a new place and just function, and people are supposed to somehow figure out what your needs are, so in the end, I think people need to realize, like, when you pick a place, yes, pick a place that is an easier transition for you. If you want something that's more of a challenge, then you have to have that desire in you to want to learn. A lot of people don't, they just get comfortable, and they're just like, oh, okay, I'm getting by. So my whole intention is always to learn about what's going on around me, and that can be isolating within itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, it can be isolating for us to go to a new place and then have all these, like, I feel like, ideals and expectations, but the reality is, if you did need help, how do you get it? Where do you go? What are your rights and things like that? And to get out of that bubble, because I think sometimes we get a little bit comfortable with the people we can talk to and whatever. But when that emergency happens, or that thing that might be uncommon, you're not really sure what to do. And I mean, it can be basic. Like, I got in a car accident and I was like, yeah, here in Mexico, San Miguel. And, I had thankfully I was fine, but it was one of those moments where I just kind of realized, like, I don't even know how this works here, right? I was going on, again, my United States mindset, which is call the police, get a police report, file a claim with my insurance company. It's so not that.
I was going to say, did the police try to charge you?
No, the police didn't even come. They don't handle that. I called 3 times and they don't. I had police drive by because I was at a glorieta, and they were just driving by, and I was just kind of so confused. I was like, oh my God, it's 2 broken down cars and my bumper's on the ground. My point is that I had to learn. I had to be able to communicate in this situation and also learn a new thing and process. And I feel like, the point of moving to a new place is not to still stay in your mindset and the way your life was wherever it is that you came from. I moved from Florida, so I'm going to come here with a Floridian mindset, or the United States, and just stay in one place and not expand my horizons. I came here to do that, so it's sort of one of those things where you need to learn what's going on around you, politics, not that you're getting involved because you shouldn't, but my point is like, just become more fully immersed in the culture and not just take on the comforts that Mexico offers. You know what I'm saying? Understand what's going on around you, understand the things that people that are local to your area, what's going on with them, what.
Well, yeah, it's emotional, and we are emotionally invested in it. That's what it is, emotional investment.
I want to say this. The other day with my students, I make my students study real life topics, right?
Yeah.
And so we were talking about moving abroad
Mm-hmm.
and uh, responsibilities of immigrants on
Yeah,
both sides of the border. And I made a comment, and I'll never forget it until I die. Roxana was like, don't use that word. And it's true for me. I'm not going to use the word because my PR representative don't let me. But
You have to tell Michelle the word.
I told my students that when you move abroad, it's very important that you don't move abroad as a leech. And I use this word leech because a lot of people don't understand leeching goes on both sides. If I come to Mexico, I don't speak the language, I don't know the laws, I don't invest in my community. I'm just here to live off my retirement fund, and not pay a lot, travel and live this other alternate lifestyle than what I could use or could live in the United States. What am I really giving back?
exactly.
And I told my students the same exact thing. When you move abroad, you make sure that you know the law, that you give back to your community, that you volunteer your time, that you are not just there, gimme, and not putting anything back. This is why it's super important that you speak English at a native language, so that you can read the street signs, that you can participate, and people are not like, oh, here comes this dependent, and this makes a difference. And I would love for people to understand that just because you're an American here doesn't mean that you have the right to do things differently all the time.
Exactly.
You don't have this self-entitlement, because this has happened to me more than once. I've ran across quite a few Americans that come and they make me feel as if, oh, you defend Mexican rights. Well, now I'm a resident, and I understand a lot better now what you being here not speaking Spanish does to my community. Because now it makes the field uneven. And they also have the same right to complain as we complain back home, you know. We complain back home, we got a long list of issues.
Right.
And issues transpired over here. So it's very important that I guess I want to just make it known that it's very important that we are in these communities giving, not just taking.
Exactly.
It's super important that just hiring a maid, because this is so common now in the expat groups that I see. Oh, how much does a maid cost? Because back home it's almost impossible. But just hiring a maid and paying her good wages doesn't mean that that's enough. You have to treat him or her kindly, you know, and you have to give these people the same respect that you would want. Exactly. I always tell my nanny and my housekeepers, you know, they love to work with me because I tell them all the time, my ancestors did this type of thing, so who am I to step on your neck? I appreciate you being here and help me to help you. And learning their language is the first thing, because communication makes things so much smoother.
It does.
So much. And if you invest in learning Spanish while you're in the country, I mean, it's the best investment ever. And you can't expect your children to learn the language and you not. It's just befuddling to me. It's like, oh, well, I'm here, or my kids are here, they're gonna learn this language and I'm just gonna float by. No, because go back to the United States and think about how you feel when you're in this situation with parents who are like, come here, child, and tell me what this person is saying.
I'm guilty of that a little bit. I mean, my Spanish, like I said, isn't horrible, but every now and then I get stuck on a word and I'm like, Micah, how do you say, you know, whatever, which is kind of sad because he's been here the same amount of time. I mean, he's kind of in a position to learn more, but there are things that, and I studied Spanish for a long time, but what I recognize is that there are things that I want to be more comfortable with in conversation. I really enjoy having conversations. And even though I can sit and have a conversation in Spanish for an hour, but I know I'm not getting everything. And that's kind of important to me, you know, that when I'm in this setting that I can communicate better. And that's my goal. You know, this is not necessarily that I can't get things done. I can get things done in Spanish. I can go pay bills and shop and ask questions and things like that. But I really want to be able to sit with Spanish speaking people and really absorb more, and so that to me is a step above functioning. You know what I'm saying? My day-to-day functions. Yeah. So that's important. I wanted to ask Roxana, how does your daughter adjust, or how is she doing? How was her adjustment period? I know how my son has adjusted. Like, what was it for her when you moved?
It was, she's matured so much. She's matured so much in terms of like human dynamics. When we arrived here, the school that she went to, there was in the beginning was great, and then as time went on, there was a lot of bullying, and that became very problematic. The children, in her opinion, this is what she said. She said they were very what was the word? Two-faced. She learned about fair weather friends and hypocrisy, and she got a lot of really hard life lessons at the age of 9 and 10, 11, and it taught her to be resilient. It taught her to be resilient, and also it taught her to like and love her own company. So I'll say that's what she's learned by living here, and she craves friends. The other day, we were supposed to come by with some students. Students were kids that we first met when we got here 4 years ago, and I didn't feel like coming out of the house. Oh, well, she just, her passive aggressive, manipulative. My daughter can be very manipulative. Only children can be very manipulative. So, silent treatment. And I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? What's going on? Tell me what you need, But what she wanted was she wanted to see her friends. She wanted to see her friends. Mm-hmm. So, I will say that my daughter's she's matured. She learned a lot about being resilient, relying on her own faculties, very independent, self-assured. So those are the takeaways in our time here. Does she miss the United States? Of course. Does she miss her dad and her family there? Yes, she does. So, she's organized with her father. I mean, I don't have anything to do with it. She's like, yeah, we're going, Mommy, I'm going to Daddy in August. I'm like, sure, no problem, no problem. So, she just blossomed and matured. So that's what I'll say, what's happening in our time here. And then she also has an understanding of different political systems, to compare and contrast here in the United States and Ghana, where her dad is from. She's an economist. My daughter's obsessed with money and finances. So she's learned a lot. She's learned a lot by living here, a lot of good worldly things. I think maybe that she would have learned if we remained in the States.
Okay. And I'm assuming maybe you've made a visit back. I don't know if you have.
Oh, yeah, we've gone back twice.
Okay. How is that for her to go back and to return? I know with my son, there are certain things, he kind of misses. And I, as a mom and as a parent, as a grown up, we know how to adjust our emotions and things like that. But I know that he gets emotional about certain aspects about leaving. It's sort of like, I love Mexico. I love my life there. I love my friends. But in this moment, here's the struggle for me. It's like, and it could be very simple, like two little simple things that he's just like falling apart about. And, I know he's 9, but I just wonder, like, what is that like? Because I'm sure other expat families that have children, and I think it too depends on their age. I think the older they are, it's a little harder to adjust to the going back and forth. I almost feel like maybe at a later date, my son might even have the emotions of, I want to live in the US, which I'm kind of like, no, I mean, I'm not going to, worry about that at the moment. But my point of saying that is I think that there's definitely an attraction to the US as well for children. I don't know if you've experienced that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's all what you're saying. I can identify with and understand. The first time we went back, 2018, she was cool. She had a good time. She loved, her daddy. spending time with her daddy, her cousins, my nieces and everyone, her old friends. And it was fun, and she was good with coming back. The second time we went in 2020, like I said, my daughter is very money conscious. I don't know where it's just how she is, that's how she came. So she's very aware of money, and she's like an old lady. And she was like, Mommy, this food costs $20. This food can feed us for 2 weeks in Mexico. That's my daughter. So I was like, yeah, the United States is expensive. So because she's so money conscious, she likes going to the States to see family and eat, but she knows that she can live a more sustainable life here, really based on economics, but she's still oriented towards economics. Now, when we got back, she cried when we got back here. Like the day she cried, I'm like, what's wrong? And she says, this has never happened to me before, but I really miss my dad. I really miss him. And that was the first time she did that. But she'll also tell you that I know that it's best that I live with you. Daddy can't take care of me like you can. I mean, he's a good dad, he's there for her. But the dynamics of the relationship, she goes, I know that, I'm better off living with you, Mom. So that's the dynamics of our relationship. And she knows that Mommy's here Mommy's not trying to live back in the United States. No, I'm not going to live back in the United States. So if you want to be with me, it's the United States. But I'm preparing her to have this American life she wanted. Like, I would love for her to go to HBSU. Her auntie here wants her to pledge Delta.
There's no choice.
Her and my other girlfriend, they're both Deltas. And I had wanted to be a Delta. They didn't have that at my campus. So, fine. Whatever she wants to do is her life. She can do it. But, it's still also important to me for her to have that Black American experience. That's very important. We went to my girlfriend, we went to the States in last November. My girlfriend moved to Texas, and we went to her daughter's high school. I mean, I've never been told everything is bigger in Texas. That is so true. Her daughter's high school was like it was huge. It was like a college campus, and her daughter's a cheerleader. All these all-American things. And I thought, oh my goodness, does my daughter want this experience? And my girlfriend said, I felt bad. And my girlfriend said, well, you shouldn't feel bad because you're providing her with a different experience. It's no better, it's no less, it's different. My daughters don't know what it's like to live abroad and function abroad, and your daughters has that experience. It's okay if she's not a cheerleader, but she lives in another country and she speaks that language. So her experiences are different from my children. Because I was thinking, maybe I can send her for the summer so she can do a cheer camp. Like, I'm always thinking of different things, exposing my daughter to different things. And that's still a possibility. So those are the only things that I kind of worry about. I don't want her to miss out on the Black American experience. It's very important for her, in my opinion.
And that's a great point. Sorry, go ahead, Rakia.
I want to chime in because I think it kind of goes both ways. My son was born here, and when we take him to the States, he's always like, when are we going home? Mm-hmm. So I think as parents, because we grew up somewhere, we expect, or our children, their normals are just depending on what is their normals. You know what I'm saying? Right. We have to kind of guide them and help them to see differently, and we kind of have to, when you move outside of your normal, you have to look for things to become normal for these children. For example, my son struggled with the idea of learning English. Mm-hmm. It's his first language. But at school, he was being bullied because he spoke English. And I had to kind of turn it around for him, like, they pay Mommy to teach them English. So take advantage of this, and the same thing with Amaris. I talk to Amaris all the time, like, you know what, Amaris, one day you are not going to be rejected for something that you want because you have this on your curriculum, that you speak the language, you understand it culturally. There's cheer camps here. I always try to make people understand or help people understand the exact same things that we have back home as far as adventures for our children to do. There's here, especially in these populated tourist areas, like in Tulum, Playa del Carmen. I've seen they have football, and not soccer, but like little football with cheer teams and things. Here in our remote town, we don't have this because we don't have that tourist or expat influence. Right. Here cheerleading is a big thing, but dance is. And I remember for the pandemic, Amaris was dancing in the school. So, you know, we kind of have to compensate or expose them or help them to understand that we have a lot of things here that you can do that equates, I suppose, to what you would be doing at home. And we must take note that here dance is much cheaper. It's much cheaper, and which makes us able to do dance, play the drums, go swimming, taekwondo. Like my son's itinerary is crazy. It's crazy.
I know, right? Their social life is busier. They're busy. Their social life is more than mine. I mean,
exactly. And this goes by on why he's able to speak the language overnight, because he's out there, his friends are out there, and we make friends, but we're not at drum camp, we're not at taekwondo, we're not hearing these different expressions in different environments, and our children are, and so
which makes for a more richer experience, cultural experience.
That's the idea. For me, or I think for Roxana, living in a town that is not a tourist destination gives our children so much more an authentic experience. I remember when Amaris told you, that's not how we say it, right? Amaris became Mexican overnight. And I was like, all right. Now you're like Auntie Rakia, because you take it personal. So, and this is the idea. Even though we can't give our children, I suppose, the Happy Meal lifestyle that we enjoy back home, we're giving them another type of, we're giving them the Caja Feliz lifestyle here that Mexico does have to offer. Like I would have never, and I made pretty good money back home, but I still don't think I would have had the time, the freedom, or the economics to give my son activity on top of activity.
It wouldn't have been possible for me at time. I would just be working.
Yeah.
Getting fat and working. That's what getting fat.
And you're right about that, because all of us come from what I call the rat race, right? We all had I had the corporate job. I'm pretty sure you had some form of a corporate job, or someone who had a form of a corporate job. And it's like, you drop your kids at school in the morning, you rush to your job, you work all day, you're exhausted, you get home, you grab them, and you're driving through the drive-through because you don't feel like cooking. And like you said, your life is just trying to get to a Saturday, right? And on Saturday,
yes,
you're cleaning the house, you're running around trying to grocery shop, and then Sunday, the fake day of rest, whatever, you can squeeze something in.
Ironing clothes.
Yeah, and Monday you're right back at it. And I feel like here, even though the pace is different, right? It's the quality of life. And I say this to people all the time.
Yes.
You have to get out of thinking money is quality of life, because it's not. Your mindset needs to be that I want more time to live, not more time to work, not more time to spend. I want more time to do the things that are important. And those things are your family, spending time doing things. And Mexico, fortunately for us, and I also feel, even though we view at times Mexico as like you said earlier, the handout country, I don't see it that way. Now that I live here, I really think that they take a lot of time and they invest so much in family. They invest in doing things together. They invest time and energy into having that unit. And that's where we fall super short, okay? Coming here has allowed just all the things that you listed, me to be able to afford to live and have a little more for the same, less than what I spent. And it's not, I don't really look at things as, oh, it's cheap or whatever. I think it's a choice, right? It's a choice of, like, for example, if I chose to just say, I just need one room, right? That's my choice, because to me, that's my quality of life. And I can choose this. and I can still be okay here. In the US, there's so much sucking on you, especially as a single mom. I can totally relate to you, Roxana, because I was a single mom for 4 or 5 years. And all I did was like try to get my business going and whatever. And I hung on to the business because I wanted to create my own schedule. I remember getting offers from my clients to work for them. And I thought, like, what, are you crazy? I'm not going to do that. You know, I need this flexibility so I can be that single parent raising her, her child. And it was always like people just trying to suck at you, things breaking down, just trying to get your car fixed, cost $1,000, and just, you name it, right? On and on.
Yeah.
And here I feel like we're now privy to another thing that we were not privy to. So people think, oh, well, the American dollar, don't get me wrong. Yes, it's great to earn American dollars, but it's not so great if you're spending it and overspending it, because it costs living costs more, and you can't do more than one thing, like you said, for your child. I mean, for myself, I've been able to do a lot of the things. I want him to play the piano or learn an instrument. That's affordable here. I want him to take a class that he's interested in. That's affordable here. I couldn't afford a private school in the US. I can afford it here, So yeah, and I want people to understand that, because I think sometimes they get so caught up in, if I make less, then my life is less. But actually, no, you can still get a good quality with that less, because it doesn't cost as much to survive here. And if, yeah.
My daughter's father, my ex-husband, he went behind my back and contacted her godmother and complained about he still doesn't understand why I'm in Mexico. And she said, well, I think his problem was the economics. And at the same time, we have a saying in West Africa, he's talking out of two sides of his mouth, because he had complained to our daughter how, he's from Ghana, okay? And he complained to our daughter how he didn't know how America was so hard. He said he's tired of working and he wants to go back home. This is what her father said to her. I said, oh. Now you're getting an inkling as to why I'm no longer there.
Maybe he thought that you this is your norm. It's not his norm. He knows something else. And he's like, what does Roxana know about anything other than this? This is her norm.
Yeah,
she's supposed to be working like a free slave,
exactly.
not me.
He didn't get them. But the same things that I complained about in terms of trading work for time, that is what he's doing. And he wants his body is in the United States, but everything else, he's back home in Ghana. He's over it for the same reasons that you cite.
Exactly.
Car breakdown, working all the time, getting fat, not having any time to do anything. I mean, just poor quality of life. You have the economics, but you have a poor quality of life.
Right.
I mean, it is what it is. And I'm like, I lost 40 pounds moving here.
Yeah, just
and
that.
Another thing is, I must touch on this too, because children are a big reason on moving, but even those who don't have children, listen, healthcare. I'm just gonna go on healthcare, because I in the United States, I'm a registered nurse. So I will tell you this, living here with a son who's asthmatic, with myself being asthmatic, living in Mexico, knowing that I can receive quality health care with or without insurance, that is not going to send me in financial disparity.
Exactly.
I mean, literally, a personal situation, it took me a very long time to get pregnant. Fertility was my downfall, and is to this day. And I talked to my friends back home, and they spend millions on fertility. And I was able to go to the doctor from Tijuana to Yucatan, and try all types of certain treatments, IVF, and I didn't spend thousands. It wasn't Mexican cheap, but it wasn't the United States expensive.
Right.
And that is, to me, quality of life is way more than working to have a fraction of my check taken out for healthcare that is still not even given to me at the way it should be. excuse me, for X or for Y, you know. Here, I say that the government dropped the ball equally on COVID, equally on both sides of the border. The worldwide, the ball was dropped on COVID, but I've already received my COVID shots. And in the United States, my cousins and sisters have not.
Right.
And, you know, and the thing that boils down is, well, we don't have enough information on it, or the insurance, or where. I don't really know what's going on over there. But I'm like, you see, as a teacher, they were like, yeah, you need to come get your shots.
Yeah.
And it was just like a moment. My name came down the lottery, and you know, I received my shot, and it was like, thank you, teacher. We'll see you in the classroom. How are you? I mean, it's just so. I guess the red carpet is rolled out for you in a different way here,
right?
Than you would accustom it or equate it to this space. I mean, anything with our children, having my own business, it is not a problem for me to say, you know what, today I can't work because my son is sick, or today we're not going to have class because my son wants to play. I have had to cancel class because my son has been too needy of me. Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, okay, teacher, don't worry. We'll see you tomorrow.
Family first.
You know, we understand. It's never that, well, I paid you. Why are you not? You know, it's all like, oh no, the teacher had a problem with her kid. I mean, there's nothing else to be said here. Even with my husband, it's just like, oh, they took vacation, they canceled things. It's okay. Not a problem. And I think that relaxedness of the culture gives you another outlook, because we as Americans, we're all about time, money, time, money, time, money. And then when you move here, it's kind of like, you better slow down, because now you're offending those around you, because you just moving too fast, you know? Mm-hmm. And I think it's important that we know that. And I love that our children get to grow up with that. It's one less thing that we have to argue with them about. Exactly. Because back home, it's like, hurry up, get in the car. You know, I got to go to work. I can't take you over there. I can't take you there. I can't do this. I got to do this. Yes. And here, yeah, of course. You want to go out with your friends? What time I got to take you? What time I got to pick you up? It's more relaxed and, you know, just.
Definitely less stressful.
Yeah, we're able to do more. We're able to give more of ourselves to things that are more important. Our better selves.
Right. Yeah. Right. And also, I think, too, and on that note, because I want to expand on it just a little, is people need to understand when they come here, because I see it all the time, people complaining about things, it took too long, or wasn't quite on point, or wasn't accurate, or, you know, I'm like, it's a different way of working. It's a different system. People are not as uptight, you know, and yeah, even in, for example, like you said, in a Puebla versus a bigger city, you know, you're going to get probably a more on it experience if you go to Mexico City. So if that's what you're looking for, then go to Mexico City. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If you're moving to an area where people are a little bit, you know, more laid back, and, you know, it's whatever is going on in your head is not so priority for them. You know, you got to learn to respect that you're in a new place and you're learning a new culture, and you need to also learn that pace. Take step back. I mean, there are times that I get impatient with things, but I just sit there, you know, and I might be thinking in my head, like, why, you know, like, why is this taking so long, whatever. But I always am reminded of where I am, right? I'm never acting like, oh, you know, why aren't you doing this, doing because this is what we do. And like, who cares what you do in the US? Nobody cares. You're not living there anymore. So I really want people to, you know, when you come here, have more grace, basically, you know, be more gracious. And, you know, I don't respond to things when I see them online, because it bothers me when I see people being impatient and frustrated and ranting. And I'm just kind of like, you just got here, you know, like, expect things. I mean, I've been very patient overall. I mean, I'm patient in general, but there's some times when I'm just feeling like a little anxiety about something super small, you know, and I'm just like, why does this take so long? So what I do is give myself more time, right? I'm not going to go and start hurry up and make my coffee. I'm going to give myself an extra 10 minutes because maybe I might run into something. Even though I know getting into El Centro is a 10-minute ride, I'm going to give it 25 minutes because something might come up along the way. And I don't want to get all bent out of shape about it because it's really not a big deal, right? Because I came from Florida and traffic is mind blowing in the US,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So I want people to kind of like think this way instead of being bothered by stuff, like incorporate your change, right? Give yourself more grace, give yourself more time, give them that space to be what their culture dictates and meld into that, and appreciate it because all the benefits that you're getting is so much more than the little agitations, right? Because we're easily accepted here. They're not easily accepted in the US. It's almost